Hey guys, Kara60 here with another review. This time I'll be reviewing the RKF Kamen Saber, Dragonic Knight, and Wonder Combo set from Kamen Saber. This is a special Rider Kick Sphere set that has a Saber figure that you can change between 3 different forms. The set includes a base sphere, various parts are changed in between the 3 forms, one weapon, and a Brave Dragon figure. So, let's get started. First up, we'll start with the base figure of Kamen Saber Brave Dragon. Now, because I've already looked at this form via the original RKF Brave Dragon figure, I'm not going to go into the details, but rather do a comparison between this and the solo figure on its own. So, here is the original Brave Dragon figure, and while the details are for the most part the same, big differences come in the paint applications. Now, starting off with the head, you have most of the same details, although the gradient is a bit stronger on the special combo set, with also a bit of a lighter shade of gold used. You'll also notice that there are these 2 bits that extend outwards towards the back of the head, which is for sake of removing the face and then changing on a different one. Going down to the torso, you have basically the same details for the chest and arms, although one add bit of detail for the special set is that you now have this gold stripe going down the right arm, which is actually so, and this wasn't present on the original RKF. However, there are also bits of missing paint. For example, you no longer have a connecting red line here on the left arm, and there's a lot less paint on the bottom half of the body. This mostly has to do with how the Dragonic Knight form works, but it even extends to there no longer being paint on the inner part of the side cape. Another difference is that the sword driver on the combo set figure does stick out a little bit more than the one on the original figure, and that's because of how the gimmick works. There are also different plugs and ports are present on this figure that aren't on the original because of how this gimmick works. So for the most part, these are similar, but obviously if you want a more complete, solid Brave Dragon figure, you'd go for the original rather than this one. However, this one does have its gimmicks. So, besides that, we also have the articulation, which thankfully is unhindered by the various pieces. So, of course, you have the ball joint head, torso ball joint, arms go forward, out, and inwards, rotate 360 degrees, have bicep swivel, single joint elbows, rotating wrist joints, still have a joint for the side cape, let's go forward and back, in and out, have a rotation at the thigh, nice deep single jointed knees, and ball joint ankles. Now for this figure, there's one accessory, Kamen Rekka. And this one is basically about the same as the one you get with the base Brave Dragon figure, since it's red plastic with silver painted around the blade edge. And of course, it just easily plugs in to his right hand, just like that. So there's not too much to say about the Brave Dragon figure, but things get more interesting when you get into his 2 other forms.
Saiyuu journey!
Next, we'll change Kamen Rider Saber into his Wonder combo. So we'll work our way from the bottom up. Starting with the legs. First we'll take these two shin guards and place them onto the legs. And these ones do have letters labeling them as pieces for the left and right, or at least it should. Yes, this one is just got upside down. This is one for the left leg. Making the other one for the right leg. Next we'll take off the single Hisatsu holder. And place on this other side cape. Then we'll remove his sword driver with the one Ride book. Take this front skirt piece, plug it into here. Then place on the new sword driver with 3 Ride books in it. Then this piece will come off and place it with a new chest piece. We'll pop out the normal left arm and replace it with the Saiyuu Journey left arm. Come around to the back. Put on the Storm Eagle wings. Just like that. Finally, remove the original face and place on the new one. And here we have Kamen Rider Saber, Crimson Dragon. So this form, Saber has gotten a lot bulkier and a lot redder. Starting with the head, we now have the complete head, with not only the Brave Dragon piece, but also the Storm Eagle piece and the Saiyuu Journey piece. Again, to the body, obviously the right half doesn't change, and that's for Brave Dragon. We get the new chest piece, which has not only the bits for Brave Dragon, but also the Storm Eagle center part, and the Saiyuu Journey left part. And for Saiyuu Journey's pieces, there's actually a little bit of metallic pink painted on to give it some detail. Getting down to the lower half, we then have the tail feather front skirt for Storm Eagle, as well as the Storm Eagle shin guards. We have a second side piece for Saiyuu Journey, which does have this sort of engraving on it that isn't on the Brave Dragon one. And we also have the Saiyuu Journey arm, which has the ring here, the Saiyuu ring, as well as Son Goku on his flying Nimbus. Then on the back, we have the Saiyuu Journey wings. Or no, the Storm Eagle wings, rather. One thing is slightly lost in this is that while the same red is used throughout here, in the actual series there are different shades of red for the different 3 parts, but to make things simple, they decided to have it all be the same red color, which does give it coherence but not quite the same level of depth. Now for the articulation, not so much about it changes. There is a bit of limited articulation because of the ring on the shoulder of the left arm, so it doesn't go out quite as far. But thankfully the cape, or rather the wings, don't hinder the torso articulation too much, and of course you still have a hinge on this side as well. So despite the added bulk, it doesn't interfere too much with the general posability of the figure. Next, we'll change Kamen Rider Saber into his power-up form. So, to do that, the first thing we're going to do is basically strip the figure of all the different pieces. Remove the face, remove the wings and chest, remove both arms, remove the belt, front skirt, side skirts, and shin guards. Which gives a look at the true base figure, which is basically this armless dummy. But then we'll start building him back up. So, once again, we have shin guards. I'll go onto the legs. New side capes. A new sword driver that now has the Dragonic Knight book in it. A new chest piece. As I'm saying, chest piece, not chess piece. New arms. Which are a little bit on the trickier side to get in. Pop that back on. Let's try this again. I will go retrieve that later. And then a new face. And here we have Kamen Rider Saber, Dragonic Knight. And while we did get a good look at it in the Dragonic Knight Wonder Ride book, now we can look at the form in detail. So obviously the biggest change from the two previous forms is now it's dominated by the silver color with bits of red as the accents. Starting off with the head, you definitely have a more knight-like vibe to it, especially with the slits in the helmet, as well as the kind of hinges on the sides, which also justify the design of having these two plugs that go back. We still have the tip of Kamen Rekka that sticks out of the top, as well as this bright red X-shaped visor. Going down to the body, a very nice and sleek armor. It's very rounded, but again has all these red stripes that go throughout it to add a bit of color to it. You of course have the sword driver with the new book in it. And we even have a molded on Dragonic booster. It does have some red for the upper half of it, and does have a grip that his left hand goes onto. It's a pretty simple looking form, but also quite sleek and cool. And of course, like with the other two forms, he can hold on to the Kamen Rekka. And he does have quite a good grip on it. But there is one more piece to this set that is definitely meant to go along with this form. And finally, here we have Brave Dragon itself. So this is a very cool thing to include, as Brave Dragon is often seen with Saber either in his transformations or during various attacks. To the point where Dragonic Knight even rides on this. There's a lot that went into this figure. So, starting off, let's take a look at the head. As you can see, got this nice and kind of rigid feeling a kind of jagged look to it, and does indeed resemble the one seen on the shoulder of the Brave Dragon arm. Though a bit more detailed, we have nice gold eyes, can move around the head on a ball joint, and can open the jaw and close it, thanks to a joint here. And we have all these nice orangey gold kind of fins on the back that resemble flames. You've got all the scales running down it. You have some black and silver for the underbelly, as well as a tail that is articulated in 3 segments. You've got arms here, are on these not necessarily ball joints, but rather swivel and pivot joints. You've got the neck, which is on its own joint here. And then the legs are on similar joints to the arms, though with no knees. You can also articulate the claws at the ends of the feet. Now, there isn't any specific way to have this to where Dragonic Knight is riding on the figure. But basically that's the kind of thing where you have to kind of find a good balancing point in order to do so. Whether it be just holding up or just finding some way to get to balance, but it certainly is possible. It's just a little bit tricky. Still, this is also the kind of thing where you could pose it alongside Dragonic Knight and it would look good as well. Obviously, the scale is not quite right, as Dragonic Knight should be a lot bigger than this, but for the sake of having it in the set, it is forgivable to have it at a bit of a smaller size, as it's still a very cool accessory that they probably didn't even need to include, but they did anyways. And there we go. Overall, this is a fantastic set and a major improvement over last season's 01 Hybrid Rise figure. Whereas with that figure, you had a bunch of parts going onto the body that often didn't attach very well and had limitations to the articulation, or limited the articulation in some ways. In the case of this, you don't have that at all. All of the piece connections are solid, and they did it in a smarter way, wherein they actually went to the effort of having not only pieces interchange as well as attached to the body, but also went as far as to have alternate arms, so that you didn't have to worry about attaching different pieces onto the arms that could fall off or get in the way of the articulation. And while Crimson Dragon is a little bit limited in articulation due to its design, for the most part, the articulation is unhindered by the form changing, and all 3 forms look good. Obviously, the appeal of the set is more so in the Crimson Dragon and Dragonic Knight forms, but the fact that you can have this figure and change between all 3 of them is quite nice. Not to mention, there's also the big draw of the Brave Dragon figure, which is something that they didn't need to include at all, but it's very nice that they did. It's very well detailed and sculpted, and while the articulation isn't that great, it does have a good enough amount. And as you can see here, with enough balance and just getting it just right, you can actually have Dragonic Knight riding on Brave Dragon. It is a bit of a shame that you can't change this figure into things like Dragon Eagle or Saiyuu Dragon, but that's more for the Sono figures to do. Because the fact that you have these 3 figures in one is quite nice, and definitely does give it a bit more appeal than simply having a separate Crimson Dragon or Dragonic Knight figure. So if you're into the RKF line and you're into the Saber figures, I can definitely recommend picking this set up. Next time I'll be reviewing the Mode Change RKF Kamen Rider Blades King Lion Daisenki. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and if you're new and would like to see more, please subscribe and hit the bell icon. And for now, this is KRX50, writing off.